Hello, Africa. Hello, world. Good morning. Brittany Funky is my name, all the way from Cameroon. Our speaker is the current president of PSASA, and PSASA means the Professional Speakers Association of South Africa. He is also an executive management coach and a wildlife expert. Like I said, all the way from South Africa, let's make welcome Steve Johnson. A round of applause.
Hi,
A round of
everybody.
applause. Thank you.
Right. Here we go. Morning to you, everybody. Bringing you wisdom from the waterhole. Can you all hear me? Oh, good. Wonderful. Yeah. When the lion roars, even the elephants listen. What a wonderful image that we have of Africa, that Africa has the spirit of both the lion and of the elephant. But today I'm going to tell you about this wonderful superpower that we have as a continent of Africa. When I was sitting at a waterhole many years ago and watching the elephants coming down to drink, I was reminded of something that one of my original game scouts told me when I first joined national parks in Zimbabwe. And he said, "Enklambini wezindlovu, konke kungo kwako. Konke kungo kwako." And what that meant when I inquired is he said that in an elephant herd, every elephant counts and no one is left behind. And that's really the spirit that we have here in Africa, based upon the wonderful diversity of people and cultures and everything that we have. And elephants don't leave legacies, they become legacies through their interactions. And that's really what I want to talk to you today about, is that the interactions that we have within and amongst our people in Africa is what brings us our richness and our ability to be able to face the future increasingly with major power and influence. Now, legacy is all about life and living. It's about learning with and from the past, living in the present and building for the future. And that's the substance of a lot of what our communities and our people in Africa have. And legacies are forged through deep, strong, and constant interaction within the people. And I'll come back to that shortly. And so I ask you, what epitomizes that deep interaction better than being with a community and listening to them talk to each other and debate issues and take everybody's perspectives into account? Now, I think there are 7 laws of living a legacy, because you don't become a legacy, you live a legacy. You have to have purpose and passion. You have to have deep relationships and interaction. Your work and your life must be holistic and value-centric and action-orientated, making sure stuff happens. And they have to be followers and believers. And you have to be focused on the well-being of others and our planet, and that's a key factor. And at the end of the day, we leave the world a better place, and we make it a better place. Now, if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I'm going to go through this briefly. When we look at the basic needs, we all want a nice house with some kind of security and everything like that. And as we move up in the hierarchy, we then want something extra. We want a holiday home. We maybe want a Porsche or Ferrari. A lot of people aspire to have these things. And we might even then in self-actualization become a painter or a musician, or become well known, or fulfill some deep purpose that you felt that you have. But when we look at all of this, okay, what does it actually mean at the end of the day, when we come to the latter stages of our life? And what have you spent your life doing, and what is the meaning behind that? And very quickly, just to show you where our strength lies in Africa, is in Maslow's hierarchy, we're all beginning in our life until about 30, we're looking at our physiological needs. And then we look at our safety needs, making sure we've got our pension schemes and everything like that in place. And then we begin around about 50 to be looking for love and belonging and aspiring to be part of groups and have meaningful relationships. And then we want to have some kind of esteem as we move into our 60s, and then self-actualization, reaching those higher purposes that we feel we have by the time we're 70. This is a simple way of looking at it, but you can see how it grows incrementally there. But at the end of the day, in these latter stages, what is it that it's all about? Do you feel at that point that you're inferior, there's an emptiness, inadequacy, that you might be unworthy of stuff and you have an imposter syndrome? What's it been all about, and what is it all about? Well, personal growth, how we imagine it, is usually this wonderful exponential straight line, but in reality, it's ups and downs and squiggles and backwards, and it's a lot of mess. But in communities, that mess is sorted out by a lot of interaction and discussion and debate and talking to each other and caring for each other. So I want to just focus on, we are in Africa on the cusp. We are on the cusp of great things. Our population is growing hugely. We'll be one of the biggest populations in the world very shortly, in a decade or two. And we need to take our place on the global stage with interactive leadership. That's our superpower, where traditional wisdom meets in this age of AI, where we integrate tradition with innovation. And who else epitomizes our wonderful African leadership, founded on wisdom and forged through empathy, participation, and inclusion? And in contrast, modern leadership, which is founded on individualism and forged through power, persuasion, and coercion. Where does the world really need to be? Many, many years ago, Aristotle alluded to the saying that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. The whole is bigger than all the little pieces. And in Africa, if all the little pieces, each one of us gets to do our thing, the eventual outcome will be much bigger than what we are all inputting. Let's look at a clock or a watch. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. There the little pieces are, all the little gears and everything like that. And when you add them all together, you get a watch. But the biggerness, the greaterness of the watch is that it's all about time. And what is time? Time is everything in our lives. And it's all those little parts representing their movements, etc., and they're working together that brings us this bigger aspect of time. So what is leadership, and how is it greater than the sum of its parts? Well, if we look at management, it's traditionally said to be planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. In my perspective, the leading part is the key aspect there. And the leadership, when you contrast the left, the modern leadership, with that on the right, you can just see the body language with the person on the left who's leading that meeting. And what's happening on the right is the energy. You can just feel what's happening, the debate and discussion and everything, and interaction. Now, this is something that I've worked on quite recently. And this is a modern perspective of what is happening in the interaction in our societies. It's individualistic, and it ends up in all we are wanting is wealth. Now, watch carefully what happens when we take a step back and we look at our traditional leadership across Africa. All those straight, hard lines around those circles blur away, and all of those disparate aspects come into a very central part, which is tight. It's about people, it's about family, it's about society, community, respect, and our wealth, which is not money, it's our wealth of richness of being together and looking after each other. Because at the end of the day, that's what we call Ubuntu. What a wonderful terminology, and it's really our competitive edge in Africa. But what's been happening to all of that Ubuntu is slowly fading into the background, and it's being pulled apart. And we need to bring it back. We need to get it back. Because what's happening is the person is that individualism is coming out and it's seeking the wealth that is dominating. You know, at least half of Western managers and top executives feel isolated. And they say that it alienates them and it hinders their job performance. And we as leaders are increasingly having executive loneliness, a fear of vulnerability, of decision-making isolation, pressure of being strong. In our hybrid work environments, we're losing control of what's happening with our people. And there's a lack of leadership development. Deep leadership, the African way. I call it deep leadership, the strong, robust tightness, and it's deep. And if we look at the comparison between deep leadership and Western leadership, the Ubuntu side of things builds trust, cohesion, inclusion, innovation. It's about culture, collective well-being. Whereas the modern stuff is about coerced productivity, high turnover at all costs, conflict and tension, cultural dissonance and competitive supremacy that leads us nowhere really at the end of the day. Because what we have, our superpower, is this interconnectedness. We rise by lifting others. And it's leadership that reflects the web of relationships that define African societies. Some of you know that I've been inducted into 3 different African groups, tribes here in Southern Africa, amongst the Botswana and the Zulus and the Ngoni in Malawi. And what I just love about being with those people is this interconnectedness that you feel when you are there. It's all about engagement and intimacy. And there's a saying in the DRC that a good chief is like a forest, because everybody can go there and they get something. They get something back. This is a group of people that I worked with in Botswana in the Okavango Delta. And it just epitomizes the person at the back is one of the leaders there. And it's how you can just see how it's pulling everybody together, that image. It's all about empathy and listening, where a leader hears even the silent voices. Isn't that such a wonderful saying? That a leader hears silent voices, where leaders engage with emotion and silence and stories. And there's intimacy. Into me, you see, people see into each other and can feel what it's like for those people to be in each other's shoes. And so at the end of the day, what it's all about is that these elements are all big and tight together. It's a holistic approach to things. And so deep leadership and professional speaking, remember that you are a leader when you're on the stage. Everybody looks up to you as somebody special, as somebody that's an expert. And you need to speak from a position of consciousness, aware of the influence that you have on your audience and what you can get them to do and to think. and what your message is always offered in the spirit of focusing on the greater good and the collective well-being. You see, there are no shortcuts to a meaningful legacy. So what mark are you leaving to make our world a better place? And when we sit and we look at our wonderful African landscape, and we remember that elephants don't leave legacies, what legacy are you creating? Go out and create your legacy, one good at a time, all day, every day. And remember, be a good, interactive, and be good. And thank you for listening. And remember, I've got my eye on you. Go out and be the interactive leader that Africa needs. Thank you very much.